Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into something that I know you're all passionate about,
Oh, yeah.
the impact of traditional book reading.
Mm.
You're looking for knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly, and we totally get that.
Yeah.
So let's explore this question together.
Okay.
Is cracking open a physical book just nostalgia, or is there something more?
Yeah.
Something that actually makes us smarter?
That's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people are wrestling with, these days.
For sure.
There's this idea of deep reading, this state of sustained focus that feels increasingly rare in our digital world.
Oh, you're telling me I can barely make it through a news article online without getting sidetracked by,
Okay.
10 different things.
Totally.
But when I have a physical book in my hands, it's different.
Yeah.
I'm completely absorbed. Like, I've entered a different world.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something about physical books that actually fosters this kind of focus?
That's exactly what researchers are finding. If you think about it, screens are designed to distract us, right? They're bombarding us with pop-ups and ads and that irresistible scroll.
Ugh, yes.
But a book demands your undivided attention.
That's true.
And neuroscientists are finding that this uninterrupted immersion can actually strengthen the neural pathways in our brains,
Really?
specifically those linked to critical thinking and abstract reasoning.
So it's like we're giving our brains a workout.
It really is.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and studies have shown some incredible results. For example, research suggests that deep reading can actually thicken the corpus callosum.
The what?
The corpus callosum, which is the bridge between the two hemispheres of the brain.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this can lead to improved communication between different parts of the brain, potentially boosting creativity and problem-solving skills.
So reading a physical book isn't just about absorbing information. It's about training our brains to think more deeply and creatively. No wonder 65% of readers say they prefer print for complex subjects like, philosophy or history.
Right, and that statistic really highlights how powerful the experience of reading a physical book can be.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to grappling with complex ideas.
Okay.
There's something about the tactile experience, the act of turning pages and physically feeling the weight of the book in your hands, that helps solidify information in our minds.
Interesting.
It's like creating a mental map that we can refer back to.
That makes sense. I know when I'm reading a physical book, I find myself flipping back and forth, referencing earlier sections, and even making notes in the margins.
Yeah.
It's like I'm actively building a framework for understanding,
Right, and you're interacting with the material.
Yeah.
And don't forget the impact of screen fatigue.
That's
We are constantly bombarded with blue light from our devices.
That's true.
And this can disrupt our sleep and make it harder to focus. A physical book offers a welcome break from that digital overload, allowing our minds to relax and recharge.
It's like hitting the reset button on our brains.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established that deep reading has some serious cognitive benefits.
Right.
But is it just about comprehension, or is there something more going on?
There's definitely more to it.
Okay.
Deep reading isn't just about understanding the words on the page. It's about stepping into the shoes of the characters, experiencing the world through their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a powerful way to cultivate empathy and understanding,
For sure.
which can be harder to achieve when we're bombarded with superficial content online.
I've definitely experienced that. When I'm reading a physical book, I feel more connected to the characters and the story. It's like I'm right there with them, experiencing their joys and their sorrows.
Yeah.
I don't always get that same feeling when I'm reading on a screen.
And that speaks to the incredible power of the human brain. As literacy expert Marianne Wolf has said, the reading brain is one of the most complex achievements of human evolution.
Wow.
It's this intricate network that's constantly evolving and adapting based on our experiences.
That's mind-blowing. It makes you really appreciate the power of something as simple as reading a book.
Right.
It's not just a passive activity. It's a dynamic process that shapes our minds and our understanding of the world.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to make time for deep reading, even in our fast-paced digital world.
So if physical books are such powerful tools for deep thinking and empathy, why aren't we all reading them all the time?
That's a great question, and it leads us to one of the biggest challenges facing traditional book reading today.
What's that?
Accessibility.
Yeah, access is a huge issue.
Right?
Not everyone has a library nearby.
Right?
And books can be expensive.
Yeah.
If you're a student in a rural community or from a low-income family, those barriers can feel
Absolutely.
insurmountable.
It's a real problem, and it unfortunately highlights a kind of digital divide. A 2020 study found that people in underserved communities often rely on smartphones as their primary reading device.
Which makes sense. A smartphone is what they have access to.
Right.
But we were just saying how screens can be so distracting.
Exactly, and it's not just about distractions.
Right.
While a smartphone can give you access to a vast library of digital texts,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily provide the same cognitive benefits as print.
Interesting.
So you have this paradox.
Okay.
Physical books seem to encourage this deep sequential learning.
Uh-uh.
Think about working through a history textbook, building knowledge chronologically.
Okay.
But they're not always readily available to everyone.
So it's like we're stuck between two worlds, the world of deep reading with its cognitive benefits
Mm-hmm.
and the world of digital access with its convenience and affordability.
Yeah.
Is there any way to bridge that gap?
Well, there are some interesting solutions emerging.
Okay.
Print-on-demand services, for example, are making it easier and more affordable to produce physical books in smaller quantities. Oh, wow.
Which can be a game changer for schools and libraries with limited budgets.
So instead of having to buy a whole classroom set of textbooks, they could print only what they need.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
And even customize them for specific students.
That's really neat.
And then there are library ebook loan programs.
Okay.
These programs allow people to borrow digital books from their local library, giving them access to a wider selection of titles without the cost or storage limitations of physical books.
So it seems like these programs are trying to take the best of both worlds
Right.
and combine them.
Exactly.
We can have access to a vast library of content, but still experience the benefits of deep reading.
Precisely. And while the physical book versus ebook debate continues,
Yeah.
we can't ignore the elephant in the room, the internet.
Okay.
There are resources like Project Gutenberg, which offers over 60,000 free ebooks,
Wow.
making a huge range of literature accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
That's incredible. And of course, there's the benefit of updates. Oh, right.
I can't tell you how frustrating it is to have a science textbook that's already outdated, a year after it was published.
Yeah.
The beauty of digital texts is that they can be revised in real time, making sure students always have the most up-to-date information.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
But of course, digital platforms present their own set of challenges.
It's just-
They prioritize speed and efficiency,
Oh, yeah.
which can sometimes lead to what researchers call the shallows.
The shallows.
We tend to skim and scan rather than really engaging with the information, which can hinder our ability to truly understand and synthesize complex ideas.
So how do we encourage that deeper engagement with information, even in the digital realm?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we need to rethink the way we design digital platforms, or is it more about changing our own reading habits?
Right.
It's probably a bit of both.
Okay.
On the one hand, developers are exploring ways to make digital reading more immersive and less distracting.
That makes sense.
But we as readers can also take steps to cultivate better habits.
Like what?
One simple technique is the 3-2-1 method.
Okay.
After reading an article, write down 3 key takeaways.
Okay.
2 questions you have about the material.
Okay.
And 1 action step inspired by what you read.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a simple but effective way to encourage deeper reflection and engagement with the material.
Exactly.
It forces you to really think about what you're reading and how it connects to your own life.
It's about being an active participant in the reading process rather than a passive consumer of information.
That's such an important point. We get so caught up in consuming as much information as possible that we forget to actually slow down and think about what we're reading.
Right. And speaking of slowing down and engaging with the material,
Yes.
I think we need to circle back to the idea of hybrid approaches.
Okay.
Do you remember that fascinating initiative in India we touched on earlier? The book bus?
Oh, yeah, the book bus. It was a mobile library that traveled to remote villages, bringing physical books to kids who might not have regular access to a library.
Exactly.
It was a fantastic example of using both traditional and modern approaches to improve literacy.
And what's even more incredible is that the book bus doesn't just provide access to physical books.
Great.
It also offers Wi-Fi hotspots, allowing students to download educational podcasts and access online resources.
That's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It recognizes the unique value of both physical books and digital resources, using them together to create a more enriching learning experience.
Right.
Didn't they find that students who used the book bus showed significant improvement in reading comprehension compared to those who only use smartphones?
Yes. Teachers reported that students who used the book bus showed a 30% improvement in reading comprehension compared to those who relied solely on smartphones.
Wow.
It really speaks to the power of combining the tactile benefits of print with the accessibility of digital platforms.
It's like they're creating a bridge between the two worlds, allowing students to experience the best of both.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a hopeful example of how we can move forward in this digital age without sacrificing the benefits of traditional learning methods.
And it's not just about improving literacy rates. It's about fostering a love of learning and empowering students to become active, engaged participants in their own education.
I remember reading a quote from a student who used the book bus that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah?
They said something like, "The books feel special like a gift, but when I need to research something new, I go online."
Perfect.
It perfectly captures that sense of balance and appreciation for both formats.
It's about recognizing that each format has its own unique strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's not about choosing one over the other.
Right.
It's about finding the right tool for the job and recognizing the value of both.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important message for all of us, whether we're students, educators, or just lifelong learners.
Absolutely. It's about being open to new possibilities, embracing the best of both worlds, and finding that sweet spot where tradition and technology can work together to create a more enriching and empowering learning experience for everyone.
I love that. It's about finding that harmony between the analog and the digital,
Yeah.
the tangible and the virtual.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to choose sides, but rather embrace the richness and diversity that both formats offer. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore.
Right.
It's fascinating how this conversation about reading also kind of reflects this larger trend.
What's that?
You know, our evolving relationship with technology in general.
Yeah, you're right. Like, remember the early internet days?
Oh, yeah.
When there was all this hype about how technology would revolutionize education?
Right.
We thought we'd all be learning from holograms and robots by now.
Totally.
But as we've become more immersed in this digital world, we've also become more aware of its limitations.
Yeah.
The constant distractions, the information overload, the tendency to skim instead of really dive deep.
Yeah.
It's like we're trading depth for breadth.
And that's why I think we're seeing a resurgence of interest in these slower, more analog experiences, like reading a physical book. It's a way to unplug, disconnect, and engage our minds in a different way.
It's like a counter movement to the frenetic pace of the digital world.
Totally.
A chance to step back, breathe, and reconnect with ourselves.
And it's not just about escaping the digital noise. It's about cultivating those cognitive skills that are so crucial for critical thinking, problem-solving, creativity. You know, the skills that will be even more vital in the years to come.
Absolutely. The world is changing so rapidly. We need to be able to adapt, think critically, come up with creative solutions.
Right.
And those are skills that are honed through deep engagement with complex ideas, the kind of engagement that deep reading fosters.
Exactly.
So while we should absolutely embrace the incredible opportunities that technology offers, it's equally important to remember the enduring value of traditional learning methods, like taking the time to sit down with a physical book.
You know, thinking back to what we discussed earlier about how physically interacting with a book impacts learning, turning the pages, underlining key passages, it's like we're embedding the information more deeply in our minds.
It's almost like building muscle memory, but for our brains.
It is.
And that's something that's often missing in the digital world.
Yeah.
When we're reading on a screen, it's also uniform. Every page looks the same. Every interaction feels the same.
You're right. But a physical book with its unique texture, weight, and even smell, it creates a more immersive and memorable experience.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the aesthetic element.
Oh, totally.
You know, a beautifully designed book with high quality paper and elegant typography, it elevates the whole reading experience.
Right.
It's like the difference between listening to a song on your phone and experiencing it live in a concert.
That's a great analogy.
It's about engaging all of our senses, creating a richer and more holistic experience.
Yeah, so while digital platforms offer incredible convenience and accessibility, there's still something truly special about the power and the beauty of the printed word.
So it's really about finding that sweet spot, that balance between the analog and the digital, the tangible and the virtual, recognizing that both have a valuable role to play in shaping the future of learning.
I think that's beautifully said.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It's made me realize that I've become so reliant on my e-reader lately that I've almost forgotten the joy of holding a physical book.
I know what you mean. The convenience of digital reading is undeniable, but I do miss that feeling of being completely absorbed in a physical book.
Yeah.
Of getting lost in the world that it creates.
We should make a pact to carve out more time for traditional reading, even with our busy schedules.
I'm in. What do you think about starting a little book club?
Ooh.
Alternating between physical books and ebooks.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It would be a fun way to explore both formats, compare our experiences, and maybe even inspire some of our listeners to do the same.
Exactly. And we could even create a hashtag.
Oh, like what?
Like print and pixels to encourage people to share their thoughts and experiences.
That's brilliant. It's about bridging the gap between the analog and the digital, creating a community of readers who appreciate the unique value of both formats.
I love it. This has been such a rich and thought-provoking conversation. Thanks for diving into this topic with me.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to rethink your own relationship with reading. Whether you prefer print or pixels, the most important thing is to keep feeding your mind, keep exploring, and keep those synapses firing.
And if you're looking for some inspiration, be sure to check out the resources we mentioned today, like Project Gutenberg for free ebooks, and the Pew Research Center for some fascinating data on reading habits.
And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your reading preferences and experiences with us on social media using the hashtag #PrintAndPixels. Until next time, happy reading.
And keep diving deep.